There was a man who decided that his way to serve God was to get as far away from civilization as he could and live off the land by eating grasshoppers and locusts and disturbing bees' nests to find honey. He wore a loincloth and some say animal pelts. He kept far away from alcohol and the other trappings of modern society. And then he invited other people away to join him, so that they too could let everything that trapped them in life be washed away in the wilderness waters of the Jordan River. If John the Baptist walked into a supermarket today to grab an unexpected treat like a bar of chocolate, he would definitely turn heads, but not in the "wow, he's good looking" sort of way. He was unkempt, he was skinny, he looked totally unhealthy. And frankly, I think people might have said, "You know what, that man probably is nuts." But that is the way he served God. Then another man came along and decided to serve God in a completely different way. He didn't shun society by becoming some sort of holy hermit. Quite the opposite. He jumped headfirst into the ways of modern life. He ate and drank with men who hung out in bars. He sat and talked with those who had troubled pasts, including women. He breathed the same air and drank out of the same cup as those who would betray and deny him, their very own friend. He was in the middle of it all, just the opposite of John the Baptist. Yet people looked down on him too, and probably said, "There's the town drunk." And if you're looking to hang out with the lowest common denominator, go ahead and talk to Jesus. You know what? I actually find comfort in all this mourning and gossiping about John and Jesus. It means for me, if God can choose to use both an earthy-smelling vegan and a social butterfly who doesn't have any friendship boundaries, maybe he can use someone like me. Maybe God doesn't expect us to change who we are in order for him to use us to love him and our neighbour. Maybe he liked the fact that John was a social hermit, living in the wilderness, so that people would have the choice to get away from the things that distract in the world, yet was still able to hear that God forgives their sinful ways. Maybe God liked the fact that his son did not discriminate between the desirables and the undesirables when choosing his friends. Maybe in that way, all people might be able to feel loved, and all people might be saved through the forgiveness found in the cross. Maybe, surprise, surprise, God knew what he was doing when he made you and I in the strange configuration that we are. Maybe God likes that we're a little bit weird. I'm sure some people certainly think that I am. Or maybe God doesn't judge us in the same way others do, seeing through the persona others see to what is truly in our hearts. And since God uses all kinds of different and completely opposite sort of people to work in the kingdom, even people we would never expect, people who are completely unconventional, maybe that means that God is a little bit unconventional too. The images that we see in pictures often comfort us and conform to everything we already believe to be true as we know it. But the real image of God, who walked and breathed and taught, was called by some a drunkard, was given the gift of a crown of thorns and was put to death. He died for every single one of those who sought to destroy him on the cross. When God came to earth, humanity didn't like him because he didn't conform to their image of him. They thought he was too radical, too loving, and too accepting. Thankfully, he refuses to throw that back at us and sees us in the same way. He didn't think we were too unlovable or too far beyond redemption. When God came to earth, he just saw us as children who needed love, and he showed how far his love for us would go, all the way to the cross. So when Jesus says, "Come to me, all you that are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." He isn't saying, "Come and take a holiday, you need it badly." What he is saying is that it's harder to live up to the world's expectations of you than to live up to God's. It's hard to make yourself into the image of the perfect, universally accepted person, and it's impossible to conform to the desires of the world. But God doesn't want you to do that, thank goodness. What he does want you to do as a disciple is so much simpler. To love as Jesus loved. Carry Jesus' burden of loving others rather than carrying anything else. It's the right way to live. It allows you to go live in the wilderness if you want to. It also allows you to be a social butterfly if that's what you are. And it allows everything in between. Because loving God and neighbour doesn't look like just one thing. It looks like many. It looks like you being who you were created to be, but in a loving way. It's a simple way to live. It's an easy task to undertake. It doesn't require you to conform to the standards of this world in any way, nor does it require you to start judging others and trying to get them to conform to the world either. It's a way of life that is gentle and humble, and in it there is no burden. Will it be acceptable to those around you? Probably not. Don't expect any less than the reaction that John the Baptist and Jesus got. Even so, it is the right way of life. Loving is easier than distorting yourself in order to be as the world expects. You are who God created you to be. So as a disciple of Jesus, be that. Be who you were created to be, only in a loving way, and you will certainly find the rest for your soul that Jesus has already poured upon you. Amen.